Joining me right now is Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. And Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning, Maria. It's good to see you as well.
Let's go through this stimulus plan. And can you talk to us about how effective you believe it will be and when? If you're going to be sending this money to Americans directly, how do you expect they will spend that and when? Do you think this is a direct impact and a direct shot in terms of economic activity?
Well, it can be a direct shot if we look at it. I think this will happen fairly quickly. The Senate, of course, put out their plan last night where, they're now in negotiations with the Democrats on how they can actually go through this. There is some concern about the direct payments. I know myself and others have concern about, how it would actually be delivered, how we could get it to people, what is the delivery mechanism, and actually would it be spent to stimulate an economy in which most people are being told to stay in right now. Rent payments, light bills, those kind of things it can be used for. What we're trying to do also as well, and I think this package and the president has indicated this as well, we need to assure businesses and do things for small business, independent contractors, so that they can stay afloat during this time, especially when we're going through a time of distancing and businesses being shut down because people are staying inside. So it's a twofold attack here. We'd rather have businesses be able to pay their employees instead of laying them off, but we also have to make sure that the economy, so that people who can have money to pay their bills are going to be able to pay those bills.
So how are they going to pay their bills? I mean, I understand these checks are a hope to give them some sort of a bridge. But Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin on Capitol Hill yesterday, meeting with Senate Republicans, and I spoke with him on this program yesterday. Listen to what he said about bipartisanship amid this pandemic. What are you going to do in terms of politics getting involved and the two sides can't come together and vote on this?
There's a lot of bipartisan support. People are putting politics aside. This is about protecting the American economy. You had an overwhelming bipartisan vote in the Senate and the House. The Senate is here working. They're working on this next package. We were on the phone round the clock with them yesterday with Mitch McConnell and his team. I spoke to Chuck Schumer several times. I've spoken to the Speaker, even though she's not here. So I think everybody realizes there's going to be massive support for this economy on both sides of the aisle.
So what's the mood, Congressman, in Washington in terms of reaching across the aisle? I know there were some Republicans that did not vote yes for this.
Right, there were, and they have their reasons for that. But there is a genuine look across the aisle. This is a time in which we need to put those folks who, just like ourselves, who are out here in the economy wondering what's going to happen next. It is a genuine sense of concern. And I think there is bipartisan realization that we work for the American people who right now are nervous. They're seeing this virus, spread. They want to know what is going on. The president has showed great leadership in saying, here's the things that we're going to do and the steps that need to be taken. But also in this time, there needs to be negotiations to make sure that we're doing things that actually work and don't just make us feel better to say we're doing something. And I think that's been the biggest issue that we're having to deal with right now.
But I mean, look ahead for us. Look at the editorial board this morning in this op-ed in the Wall Street Journal talking about the virus response. The op-ed is titled Rethinking the Coronavirus Shutdown, writing, quote, even America's resources to fight a viral plague aren't limitless, and they will become more limited as individuals lose jobs, businesses close, and American prosperity gives way to poverty. The editorial board writes, America urgently needs a pandemic strategy that is more economically and socially sustainable than the current national lockdown. Congressman, what's your reaction to this? I mean, the bottom line is saying if this government-ordered shutdown continues for more than another week or two, the human cost of job losses and bankruptcies will exceed what most Americans can imagine.
Well, it's concerning to me that we're having the very forthright description here, but also a very concerning picture. And this needs to happen in the sense that people need to understand that the way you stop this and the way you can control it is by the social distancing, is by the moving away from people, and making sure that if you're sick, you're not going out and doing the precautions you need to have. Now, I'm also in a balance as well. Our businesses have to sustain long term. We have to think of a solution right now that's not just simply saying what are we doing to help help people right in the moment, but also make sure that our businesses and our business community are able to come back and putting in protective measures so that our businesses can, where they can, stay open. I think the president's 15-day plan this next week or so is going to show that this is working, and then we'll be able to slowly but surely get our economy back to going people back to work. This is not an easy fix. It's not an easy solution, as the administration said the other day. These are inconvenient, but at a certain point in time, that's why you're having a Congress right now in the Senate working on a unprecedented economic measure. That's why you're having, folks try to work this to get people back to work as quickly as possible. And it's why there's been a lot of focus on not just the big businesses and the businesses who employ a lot of people, but also very much of the independent contractors, our farmers, our truckers, those who are out there who are bearing the brunt of this right now. The best thing people can do is do what they're asked to make sure we contain it, while at the same time looking to ways that we can help our neighbors, buy gift cards, do the things for restaurants that are hurting right now so that you can use them later. Anything we can do to keep these businesses going is what we need to be focused on, and look at it from a very serious standpoint, but also from an optimistic standpoint that we will come out of this, as the president said, and we've got to be strong when we come out of it.
So you think, based on what you know today, that if we shut down for the next couple of weeks, do the social distancing, stay at home, stay away from people for a 2-week period, that perhaps we can come out of that 2-week period and start having businesses opening once again? I mean, and why is that? Is it because we're going to see this spike in cases in the next 2 weeks? What's so important about this next 2 to 3 week period?
Well, this next 2 to 3 week period is where we begin to have hopefully turn the tide on the curve. As Dr. Fauci said, there's still going to be more cases. We're going to see that come up. But again, if we're mitigating it as we go forward so that we're not in a spike situation where it spirals out of control like we saw in Italy and other places, then we have a long-term prospect of coming out of this quicker. That's the issue. It's not a matter of will this happen or will it not happen. It's going to happen. It is happening now, and we have to deal with the reality of that. But you also have to deal with it if it spiked and we did not take these precautionary measures. Where would we be in a few weeks if we're having a mass outbreak of not only folks having the virus, but also with deaths and sicknesses that are uncontrollable, that are overwhelming our healthcare system? We've got to think of this in a long-term perspective, not only in the business, but also the health and our healthcare systems, our first responders, so that we understand that this is a slowing down process so this virus does not get out of control and we can actually control it for the bigger picture coming out of it. Now, is it going to stop everything? No, but it is, at least from what we can tell and from the best experts that are telling us, is that if we can slow this curve down, then we're not going to face what others have faced, where we just have a complete shutdown, and on top of that, have our healthcare systems overwhelmed as well. That's the goal that we're trying to make right now, I believe is the most important one.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we want to see some progress, and certainly we'll see what happens after the next 2 or 3 week period, Congressman. By the way, you look like you have a different background today. You self-quarantined over the last week or so. Did you have any symptoms? How are you feeling? And are you still at home isolating?
No, we're not at home. We have came in today to the studio here. We didn't see anybody except me and the cameraman here, which I'm glad he's an independent contractor. He's one of those folks we're talking about that we're trying in this economy are affected in ways that we don't think. But I have never had symptoms. I've not had symptoms even when I was quarantined. I came out of it last Friday. And we're working right now. I mean, we're working around the clock. I'm taking calls and texts from business owners who do service industry, small things that make a big difference in our communities, who are now losing $20,000 and $30,000 and $40,000 of business. These are the kind of things that we're trying to make sure that we help this economy get back on.
Congressman, it's great efforts. Thanks so much. When you come back, we want to talk a little about what Congress and America has learned. Will we be better prepared for something like this in the future by not being so reliant on foreign countries for such important drugs and medical equipment? That's for the next time, Congressman. Good to see you this morning. Thanks very much, sir.
Right. Appreciate it, Maria. Thanks a bunch.